Okay, let's see what I have created finally. Now, this is kind of, there is some modification yet to be, some tweaks, perfections to be done. There is no angle deformers, but it's kind of working, and some turns out I didn't place some base node correctly, but anyway, in general terms it's working. Okay, and I decided to show this complete state kind of. Now heap, it consists of its arms and legs are switchable from IK to FK. Both arms and legs can work in local space and global space. Fingers also have IK FK switch functionality. So even fingers are rigged with IK FK functionality. Spine is based on FK and FBK. So spine is working in kind of, it's FBK. I call it FBK because it's forward backward kinematic. Okay, it's forward backward kinematic. So spine consists from forward backward kinematics and also neck. So head and neck are used in same technology, FBK functionality and FK functionality. So spine and neck are FK switchable with FBK. So now let's see what's going on here. Now currently my legs are in global space, but I'm switching it to local space. Now my character is like a Superman. It can fly. This ground. Now it can fly wherever it wants. Now it's in local space. So this is the local. Now I'm converting my foot into global space. Now it is attached. Now my foot will be attached to ground. As you can see, it's attached to ground. Now the same thing is true for my arms. Now my arms, yes, it's currently at local space. So when I'm moving my hip, my arms are attached to my hip, but I can convert them into global space, so it will be attached to ground. Now whenever I'm moving my hip, okay, I need to switch my left arm to IK mode. So okay, now my both legs and arms, both of them are attached to ground. Okay, now I can switch from IK to FK. Now I'm switching my arms to FK. Okay, now it's FKs only can be in local space, so it can be in global space. It's FK always are in local space because it's just directly linked state. Now both my arms and legs are in FK mode. Okay, now okay, here's my legs. In FK mode. Okay, same thing true for my arms. Now I have a function to match my IK system to FK system and vice versa, FK system to IK system. Now so here is my IK. I can, for example, say for my right leg, my IK solver to be matched with FK system. Okay, you see it's attached, and now I can take my controller, convert my transition to IK system, and I can work with my IK system, and I can then match my FK to IK. Okay, sorry, this was R, to my IK, and transition from IK to FK and continue working with my FK. Now I set it up correctly. This take a while for me to figure out how correctly roll bones should be set up, but it's working perfectly. Okay, now I'm gonna transition to IK system, transform to 0, and now as I mentioned it, I set up my roll bones perfectly to work correctly. As you can see, as I'm rotating my leg, look how my knee, at knee point, my mesh is deforming, but the upper hip, as my geometry is moving up to my hip, you can see it nearly is not transitioning anymore. So this is perfectly set it up roll bones. Now the same thing is true for my for my knee part of roll bones. Now, for example, if I rotate my leg and I decided, for example, that my knee should be a little bit kind of stay back, you can see as I'm rotating my knee, okay, so this IK swivel angle swiveling, you can see as my knee is rotating, so this upper section is rotating with my knee, but the lower section is remaining intact. So I can position my knee perfectly. And as you can see, it's bending, but this bend section is solid because there is no vertices transitioning at this section, because my roll bones at each end are perfectly skinned, weighted, and intelligently attached to their parental area. So whenever I'm doing my bendings, it's naturally doing everything naturally. As you can see at my ankle and knee, the formation is perfectly performing perfectly. And all this formation is constant at extremes. At my rig stretching extremes, everything is calculating perfectly. None of unintentional or accidental jumps are happening for my rig system parts. Okay, there is no, for example, knee jumping down or jumping up, or there is any roll bones transitioning from to 180 degrees from one side into another side. Everything is perfectly balanced, so everything is working perfect. So animator will have to just do his job. Okay. Now the same thing is true for my arm. Okay, I'm rolling it here. As you can see, I'm gonna turn on my mesh, and as I'm moving my arm up, you can see how perfectly my roll bones are balanced. So it's creating this twisted curved deformation. Okay, you can see that bicep muscle is moving, but the shoulder part is staying intact. Okay, the same thing is true for my wrist area. Okay, now as I'm look at this perfect balancing. Now as I'm moving, perfect. There's no glitches. Now look what's happening. As I'm moving down, muscle deformation is perfectly happening. You see, it's kind of, there's underneath these muscles and bones which are deforming my mesh, my forearm mesh. Now, and I have to mention that there is no angle deformation. After putting angle deformation, it will be perfect, absolutely perfect. See? I'm gonna turn off my mesh, and you can see how volume is preserving. And muscle deformation, you kind of feel a muscle and bones there. Now, okay, with this, now I'm gonna show you fingers. Okay. Now, I would like actually to show you second thing, spine, but as I already announced it, fingers. I'm gonna show you fingers. Now, here is FK. Here is FK, okay? And it's bending in any direction you would like to kind of create a cartoon shaped finger. So our finger is actually cannot bend at this section, but you can bend it because it's for this character, because it's a cartoon character. Now, base of the fingers also exist and perfectly skinned, balanced. Thumb, as I already mentioned it, I didn't correctly identify its base, but it's working. It's working very nice, but it's wrong definition of its base. So this location is not that correctly defined. But anyway, now my fingers have an option to be transitioned into IK mode. Okay. Now I already done, and here is my IK based deformation. Now there is one thing I have to kind of proudly mention, is an ability to switch my IK solving direction for my bones. So here is my finger is kind of bending, but what I can do, I can switch to calculate in an opposite direction. Now here is it, opposite direction. As you can see, I can transition to an opposite direction for my IK solver, and I can create my cartoon looking finger kind of bending. Now here is a kind of natural way, but I can again for my index finger transition it to cartoon bending style. Okay, now fingers, for my fingers I also created a local global mode for, okay, you may ask for what reason there should be a need to have a local global mode for fingers. Well, if my fingers should be attached on a ground like a Spider-Man, okay, for example, this is a ground attachment. Ground attachment for my fingers. I can create more natural looking pose for my thumb. Now I can transition this one as well to an opposite direction. Now, for example, let's transition also an IK mode for my arm. For example, here is a state when currently my fingers are in local space, but and then why it's actually moving with my wrist, with my arm wrist controller. But for it to be attached to ground, for example, there somewhere is, for example, it's a ground. I can say I want my fingers, actually what I'm gonna do to not lost my current pose, I'm gonna say for my right arm my FK bones to be matched with my IK bones. Actually this was not fingers, this is the fingers, okay, to match my IK bones. Now whenever I'm convert my finger state to global state, to not redo my job for my posing, I can just simply say my IK to match with FK. Now fingers are in a global state, and whenever I'm gonna move my arm, wherever I move my arms, fingers will be attached to ground. If I actually reset my bending, here is a very accurate, obvious demonstration of my kind of a need for global local space. So you can see my fingers are attached to ground, and whenever I'm posing, and even if I pose my spine, my fingers will be attached to ground. Okay, now, and this is for now let's see what's happening here with spine. It's amazing actually. Spine currently is set up in FBK mode, and as you can see, as I'm rotating, this is backwards kinematics, okay? As I'm rotating my top of my spine like a spring at the top, it's bending perfectly. Now, but I can also choose my lower section and bend it, and you can see that it curving, its rotation is curving my spine, and here is a forward backward kinematics. Now I want to show how a quality of spine, bone structure and skinning definition. As you can see, as I'm rotating my spine, it's staying, it's giving no glitches. So I'm gonna say I want to convert my arm into FK mode. So my fingers, my arm and fingers will move with my arm. So I need FK. Now you can see there's no glitches happening in deformation. This is perfectly balanced. Bone structure and skinning. Result of perfectly balanced bone structure and skinning. Now a hip. As I'm rotating my hip, you can see how naturally deformation is happening. It's happening perfectly. A natural deformation at my hip. Amazing. In combination with a spine deformation, you can actually achieve any kind of posing result. Okay, and I have to mention that angle deformations are not yet set it up. Now there is some problems that I didn't yet come up with an idea how to solve the problems, and at this state I solved this kind of problems with, I call it roll bone fixers. So each section of my rig at hip and at shoulders there is some kind of minor fixing controllers which are designed to solve a problem in such cases. Okay, as you can see, as I rotated my hip, it's giving some odd result. Now if I select my fixer and pull it a little bit down, you can see that it's fixing this odd result and giving you a natural deformation. Now at this state it's kind of manually fixing function, but in future this will be automatic. I will automate this problem and it will be automatically fixed. Now also let's see my neck. It's deforming absolutely gorgeously. Perfect deformation. Perfect deformation. At extremes, at every single state, it's natural behavior. Natural behavior. Now shoulders. Shoulders are kind of another kind of show-off section. I have to demonstrate. Now I have to mention how perfectly my shoulders are designed. So it's perfect deformation. Amazing, perfect deformation. For sure. It looks like a shoulder, a real shoulder. It's designed so it perfectly will give you any kind of extreme deformation and natural looking deformation with natural looking deformation. Okay, amazing, perfect. And still I have to mention that there is not yet set up any angle deformation, and my angle deformation will be based on real muscle system. So muscle system, and it will give a gorgeous deformation with volume preservation, and it will be amazing. Now I guess that's it for this for this rig. Probably that's it. Well, there is this foot deformers. Well, it's standard tip, heel. Well, you can also rotate this up and probably twist at ankle. Okay. Now you can also take and rotate this way, and also okay, this way and this way, and for rotating you can use this kind of, and this way, kind of for pausing wherever you want to pause it. Currently I'm using this kind of design, but in future maybe I will change it. But anyway, currently this is working for me. For now, I decided to go with this kind of setup. Now, for spine, it could also be set up to be in FK mode, spine and neck. So here is an FK state. You can see I can transform each spine section individually. The same thing is true for my neck. And I can say snap it back to my FBK. Okay, I guess this will conclude my demonstration of my new character, high quality with perfect deformations character, which this is my first this high quality rig, and that's it. I either in front of this recording, either after or both at front and after, I will demonstrate final rendering results for my character's deformation states, how perfectly you can pose this character with this rig and achieve desired goal, posing goal, target, final result. And I guess that's it. There's nothing else to tell. Well, for face it didn't yet include an e-rig, but e-rigs, it's not that complicated. So e-rigs, eyeballs will also be rigged. It's not that complicated. But face, okay, for face, as I already posted, for face I already have a technology. I call it SDArLo morphing matrix. So face will be done with this technology. Okay, that technology already exists. There is and there is a need for some advancement, but it already practically solved it. So I will start doing this for facial rig, and at the end I will have and fix any minor tweaks on this rig, on this existing rig, and at the end I will have final character and muscle deformations also, and at the end I will have a final character for animation at production quality. And that's it with this recording.